Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. And this is our NXT review. And I gotta say, folks, this is a fun episode of NXT tonight. We continue to progress towards the women's fatal four-way #1 contendership match for the NXT Women's Championship. That match will take place in 2 weeks' time. We already know 3 of the 4 participants. We even had a qualifying match tonight for that fatal four-way match in 2 weeks. We continued to build for Aleister Black versus Johnny Gargano inside a steel cage, which we found out is going to be taking place next week, as well as the debut of Donovan Dijakovic. And going back to the women, we also found that a little tag team challenge was thrown down in what should be a very interesting match with 2 other, really at least in ring, debuting talents that we really haven't seen in the ring yet, kind of mix it up. So on the whole, I think this NXT put its best foot forward, which is to even say nothing about the North American Championship Open Challenge match that we got in the main event. So I was feeling pretty good on this episode overall. We just got done live reacting to it. Partner, what did you think of tonight's episode of NXT?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, dude. This was a really fun episode of NXT. We had some great matches on here. It's all good. I'm excited to talk about this stuff. The only unfortunate thing about live reacting to this and then immediately getting into a review is that we don't really have notes to go by. So actually remembering the order in which things happened is going to be a little bit more difficult, but I think we'll manage.
Absolutely. So with that said, let's get into our first segment, Heat of the Night. I've got no heats of the night tonight, man. Everything was good with me. What about you?
Yeah, no, I don't have any kind of heats of the night either. I thought that this was a fun show. As far as, nitpicks, I don't think I have anything there either. I think that this was just one of those, like, turn your brain off and enjoy it kind of fun shows, and they didn't really do anything to take me out of it,
Absolutely. So with that said, let us get into our NXT review. And we open this baby up with the Undisputed Era shocking the system.
Oh, that's right. I was going to get us right into the tag team match. I'm so glad you remember that the Undisputed Era came out first.
Yeah, I'm going to just try and help you as best I can, which I'm going to warn you may not even be much, but I at least knew that we opened with this. And Undisputed Era pretty much talked about, EC3 being a pain in their ass. But the one big thing that they said that got me really excited, they said, now 2018 wasn't a career year for the Undisputed Era. That was more just, arriving, showing what we're about. But Adam Cole makes a promise. And Roderick Strong, you could even hear him excitedly say, he always keeps his promises. That 2019 Undisputed Era is going to be drenched in championship gold. Now, that is not a, how does he say it? It's not a fact.
It's not a threat.
It's not a threat. That, boys and girls, is undisputed. So, yeah, very confident delivery from Adam Cole. I love him on the mic. I've called the man a future WrestleMania main event. Whether that makes people rejoice and other people cringe, that's entirely up to you. I, for one, am excited about it. I think he's a real prospect. I love the faction. I even said that on our TWitWoW year-end awards, which are going to be December 30th, that one thing I can say definitively with just no wishy-washiness or ambiguity, Undisputed Era is definitely going to be my faction of the year. These guys just own everything. They are fucking dominant. They're cool. They're to me what Bullet Club was when AJ Styles was still in charge. Even before Kenny Omega came in, they have that cool factor. I think people want to be Undisputed Era, and gimmicks like that in wrestling historically have always worked. Doesn't mean that the mileage doesn't get exhausted, but I think these guys still have so much to give as a faction. And yeah, Adam Cole is a fucking star. So do you have anything you want to say about this before we transition into the first match of the night?
Adam Cole, baby!
Absolutely. All day, every day, baby.
Yes! And then we get into our first match of the night, which was EC3 versus Robert Pisces, Mr. Bobby Fish.
And before that, I just have to shout out Abel Herrera, who gave us a $2 super chat.
Thank you, Abel!
TWitWoW equals Tyler Breeze, beautiful and underrated. We also would have accepted your face, Abel, because it possesses those exact same qualities.
Oh, shit! Triple compliment sandwich.
But yes, Robert Pisces versus EC3. You know, Ashton, I find it very interesting where you and I are with EC3 because you even said at the end of this match on live reactions that you're a fan of EC3 now, like you're enjoying him.
Yeah, I've actually grown to quite enjoy his work. I think it's kind of one of those strange things where I was extremely ready to not like him because I was not a big fan of him when he had like his TNA work and stuff like that. But you know, I feel like he's improved in the ring more than I thought he did, and he has a real connection with the NXT crowd, man.
He does, and I can't deny any of this. Look, I'll say about EC3 what I've said about a few wrestling talents, you know, whether in WWE or Lucha Underground or what have you. I may not connect with them subjectively, but being fair and trying to be balanced on this podcast, it is very clear that EC3 is not only very over in NXT, but I do feel like he has the look and just the disposition and everything that will make him a mainstay on WWE. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean world champion, but I could see him being maybe a successful, you know, very successful Intercontinental champion, the way The Miz has been in his career, or just something on that level. Or maybe he would be a main eventer. I don't know. I just know that when I look at EC3, there's no denying that he's where he should be right now in his career. And the fans have definitely embraced him, even if I don't think I ever will. Like, he'll always be mad to me. I don't really get a lot out of him or his matches. But again, I think he's right where he's supposed to be, and I am merely a part. I don't speak for the whole, because as far as that's concerned, he is definitely over. And as far as this match goes, you know, it was fine enough. I like the storytelling of, you know, Robert Pisces trying to go after the leg, and EC3 just trying to kind of work through that pain and fight back. Undisputed Era, again, much like EC3's match with Cole, you know, trying to get up on the apron and distract him. He takes them all out, and he actually ends up catching when Robert Pisces tries going for a knee bar in a cradle, and he gets the pin. So that's two members of Undisputed Era now. He is beaten by, to quote Juice Robinson, rolling a motherfucker up. So a very interesting story there, and they just start beating EC3 down out of anger, and then Heavy Machinery come in to make the save, which leads to me the moment of the night. Kyle O'Reilly trying to escape, looking so desperate and scared, like clinging on the ropes, trying to get out however he could. He gets caught by EC3, hit with the 1%er, and then he hands it over to Heavy Machinery, where Otis does the worm into the elbow drop.
The Caterpillar!
The Caterpillar, excuse me, I stand corrected. But regardless, EC3 and Heavy Machinery stand tall. So, good shit.
Yeah, EC3 and Heavy Machinery. What a great trio that is. I hope that they're joined by like Matt Riddle or some other like awesome dude, and they go 4-on-4 with Undisputed Era. That'd be cool.
Well, we know Matt Riddle is currently embroiled in a conflict with Ono right now, so maybe Keith Lee.
Yeah, someone else.
Yeah, someone like that. I will say it's because obviously Heavy Machinery's motivation is very straightforward. They said last week they're interested in the NXT tag titles. It's weird for EC3, though, to be embroiled in this conflict when there is no goal, which isn't a bad thing. I've even been saying, I think we've both been saying, that it would be nice for WWE to get more storylines that are like non-championship related, but that still have substance. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say this story has substance, because I think, you know, the insults and the motivations are very simplistic. But it's just interesting to see EC3 in a conflict with really no tangible stakes for him outside of moving up the card. So maybe even after this, maybe he would be the next to challenge for the NXT championship. Who knows? So, yeah, I mean, that's one way of potentially looking at it. But, you know, good for Heavy Machinery that they're getting back in the title hunt. I will say with a lot of NXT's talents that come up, and I'll use Heavy Machinery as kind of an example, it's very interesting to me in a good way, the kind of storytelling they do, because Heavy Machinery got a tag title shot very early in their run. They failed, and they acknowledged that. Like, you know, they weren't ready at the time. AOP was at the top of the mountain, but they've grown so much since then, and, you know, tag teams have come and gone. You know, they're still here, and now them getting the second shot, I'm not saying they're going to win. I actually feel like another team's going to get that distinction. We'll get to that later, but it's just very interesting, the story of growth that they're telling with Heavy Machinery, and I really dig it. Like, this, to me, is where NXT is at its best, when it takes its organic talent and it tells these kinds of stories. So I'm into it, man. I definitely think it's going to be a solid tag title matchup if we end up getting it down the road.
Yeah, man, I definitely agree with you. I hope that you know, with Adam Cole kind of being the sort of like solo, like the singles guy out of the Undisputed Era, I really do hope that we get Heavy Machinery and EC3 3-on-3 with Fish, O'Reilly, and Strong, and then maybe like Cole helps his guys win, and a fourth guy shows up to help the other team.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that happening. That's not a bad idea.
Kind of leads to, you know, the 4-on-4 match. I would really want that 4-on-4 match for some reason.
Yeah, well, we'll see if it happens, man. In the meantime, though, Undisputed Era head for higher ground as Heavy Machinery and EC3 win the day for now. But that's all I can say about this. And now I'll just leave it to you if you have any closing remarks and just to take us to what happened next.
I mean, there was also this great moment when Kyle O'Reilly was trying to escape and Heavy Machinery like pulling him away from the ropes, and he's like climbing up the ropes to try and get away. And then EC3 kind of sneaks in underneath him and gets him up in a fireman's carry to do the 1%er. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was great.
All right, up next, we got the Mighty versus Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan. A really physical match, especially on Lorcan's end. He's awesome. You know, we've got Shane Thorne, who is a freak athlete and does some freaky athlete stuff in this. And then the other two guys are just kind of there to me.
Yeah, I actually like both of the Mighty, just, you know, as a tag team entity, and given that this is a tag team match, my rank would just be obviously the Mighty at number 1, and then Lorcan just needs to drop the dead weight, and then 1,000 miles of shit, and then Danny Burch. So that's kind of where I am with it at present.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like Danny Burch, and I don't dislike Nick Miller, but I still don't really think much of Nick Miller either.
Right. You know, I will say, though, just talking about the Mighty, and I even said this on live reactions, they are really making the tag division for me, because like them, the Forgotten Sons, like I'm loving these lower tier teams. It actually really makes me excited for the Dusty Classic next year. You know, and don't get me wrong, I love the bigger tier teams too. You know, War Raiders, Undisputed Era, I'm picking up all that. But, you know, it's really nice that the division can have a lower tier that, at least for me, is just as compelling as the upper tier. Because I feel like the Mighty, every time they get a match, I mean, they've brought a great match out of the Street Profits. This was a really entertaining match against Lorcan and Burch. And I'm just disappointed that they weren't successful, because ultimately Burch and Lorcan do win with their double team DDT maneuver. And yeah, that kind of leads me to my big point in this review. I am actually convinced that Lorcan and Burch are going to be the ones slated to beat O'Reilly and Strong for the tag titles. I'm actually convinced now that War Raiders was a smokescreen, because, yeah, they did win War Games and they got the big main event spot. But it's almost to me like they won the battle. Lorcan and Burch are going to win the war kind of thing. Like, they're going to get their really own big moment, and they're going to have the championship gold to show for it, because their story to me, you know, they finally got their big moment at an NXT takeover against the tag champs, that being O'Reilly and Strong. They came up short. It was really disappointing, but they're still grinding. They're still winning, racking up those wins. It's only a matter of time before they get a rematch, especially because Heavy Machinery is already kind of telling a similar story, but they're getting their title shots like now. You can tell, I think, that they're setting up Lorcan and Burch for like a bigger story than that, and I think it's actually going to have a payoff. So I'm actually going to declare it here on this podcast, on this edition of NXT TWitWoW. I think Lorcan and Burch are your next NXT Tag Champions, and in a way that disappoints me, because fucking War Raiders, though. But at the same time, if anybody deserves a championship for like being a fucking workhorse and really putting in the time consistently and being consistently good in the ring, it's Oney Lorcan. Oney Lorcan is a gem. I think he's still underrated in some ways because he's in a tag team. I don't think people really see how he could flourish in singles, but I'd be very happy for him to get this title run. So yeah, Lorcan and Burch to me are the next tag champs. What did you think about this match, and what do you think about the future of the tag division?
Yeah, the match was really solid. Like I said earlier, it was physical as hell. I liked a lot of the stuff that was in it. You know, there was this great moment where it looked like Thorne was going to go for a Hurricane Rana out of nowhere, and someone his size shouldn't be able to just randomly throw Hurricane Ranas out as mid-match offense, but Lorcan caught him into a powerbomb. It was awesome. We got another great moment from Thorne when he literally used Nick Miller as leverage to do a jumping cannonball. To get height on a cannonball into the corner onto Burch while Miller was pinning Lorcan. I just love Shane Thorne, man. He's so good. He's such an athlete. He's like fucking Australian Kota Ibushi, and we don't even know it because of how little use he gets right now. It's crazy. But yeah, man, it was a fun match. Lorcan and Burch got the win. And as far as like tag titles, I don't know, man. I still feel like War Raiders are next in line. So it's going to come down to either War Raiders or Lorcan and Birch. And I mean, if it comes down to a 2-on-2 match between those teams, I'm going to be a War Raiders all the way.
Oh, you and me both. I mean, you know that there have been plenty of times on this podcast where my like more quote unquote rational conclusions can deviate from my subjective longings, and that's certainly a case here because I am a much bigger War Raiders fan. I just feel like NXT loves these kinds of stories. And I'll say this too. If Lorcan and Birch do win the tag titles, I love Foster's idea. If you want to set up new contenders, you have the finals of your next Dusty Classic be the Mighty versus Raul and Humberto. You make that babyface tag team, which is fucking great for them. But you give the Mighty the trophy so that the babyfaces have something to fight back from in the future. But then you have the Mighty beat Lorcan and Birch for the tag titles. Unless they're already called up by then, which again, with the Mighty, honestly could go either way with WWE and tag teams, so you never know. But assuming that they'll still be here, I think that's an excellent idea from Foster, and I would absolutely rubber stamp that. So, yeah, Lorcan and Birch get the win. Really fun match. Love the Mighty. I really was worried about them going heel, but it's been just as compelling to me as when they were babyface. So, good shit. But unfortunately, Lorcan and Birch win the day. So, what came after this, Ashton?
After that, you know, there were a few like promo segments kind of scattered throughout. We got a vignette for Dijakovic, and we're going to see him next week. So that's going to be exciting. I can't wait to find out who he's going to be going against. We got a promo with Dakota Kai and Io, where Dakota says that Marina and Jessamine keep trying to get involved in Shayna's business, and they're not going to stand for it anymore, basically. And then Io is like all protective and talking about how she doesn't want them to keep hurting her friends, and she hugs Dakota, and it's adorable.
Yeah, Io is fucking really tugging at my heartstrings right now because it's like I didn't expect her to be this adorable. I expected her to just be more badass and being like, okay, Kyrie, you be adorable, and only showing her adorableness on certain occasions, like maybe if Kyrie was threatened or something. But no, that adorableness is just for everybody she cares about, and I can't handle it, okay? My heart just cannot deal with all these feelings. So I've got a lot to work through. But yeah, it was a great, brief promo segment. I'm really excited for this tag match next week because we get to see Marina and Jessamine, you know, in the ring in like a, you know, actual match context, not as, you know, heavies for Shayna, you know, backing her up. And Dakota's getting this little mini push, which given news that came out recently of her injury, I'm just going to enjoy that while that lasts. And as long as Io keeps getting showcased, well, I think everybody wins in that context. So, yeah, good shit. Can't wait for next week. What came after this?
After this, you know, excuse me. Again, we don't really know what order this stuff happened in because we didn't take notes. But the other talking segment that I know that we needed to talk about was Shayna's promo, because we do find out that we're getting that tag match next week. It's going to be Marina and Jessamine taking on the team of Dakota Kai and Io Shirai. So that, like, very exciting because we haven't seen Marina, Shafir, or Jessamine Duke in the ring yet. So their like debut in the ring is going to be really interesting. And then Dakota and Io teaming up for the first time on TV is going to be just wonderful too.
Oh, absolutely, dude. I am immensely looking forward to this. Marina and Jessamine literally laugh the challenge off. So they really don't care about it. They're really feeling quite confident in themselves. And they all walk off together as just like that high school gang of bullies, as you referred to them on live reactions. So we'll see what happens in the tag match next week. And I guess we can move on.
Yeah. All right. Well, next up, we've got our NXT Women's Championship Fatal 4-Way Qualifier, Mia Yim versus Reina Gonzalez. And really, I even said when this match ended that Mia controlled like 85% of this match. We start out with her doing guillotines and Gonzalez kind of trying to get her away from her and create that separation so that she can do some of her power moves and stuff. And we get, you know, more like grappling kind of stuff. Gonzalez does get some offense, like she stomps her and stuff, but it really, like, it's maybe like a 4 or 5 minute match, and Mia wins with soul food.
Yeah, I really didn't care for this match at all. I mean, kudos to Mia for trying to make it work with the storytelling of the bigger opponent and trying to use the guillotine. You know, I like Mia Yim. I didn't want my live reactions to come off like, oh, I just didn't, you know, care for it in general. Obviously, I'm invested in Mia. It's just I know that she could put on really good matches if given the right opponent. and Reina Gonzalez is not it. I mean, honestly, I don't try and be too critical here on TWitWoW. I want to be more positive. So maybe I'll just leave it at that. But let's just say, if you ask me my honest opinion of Reina Gonzalez, it would be very, very critical. So Mia gets the win. She advances to the Fatal 4-Way. And that's all that really needs to be said about that. So what came after this?
Well, we do find out that Lacey Evans also made it into that Fatal 4-Way match. So far the field is Bianca, Mia, Lacey, and then there's going to be a fourth. And we're kind of assuming it's going to be a baby face, but we're also not sure. So I guess we'll have to just wait and see on that. Next week, we're going to be getting that tag team match with the women. We're also going to be getting the debut of Dijakovic, and we're going to be getting Aleister Black versus Johnny Gargano in a steel cage. And Gargano cuts a promo on him. And Black also cut a promo later on in the night, too. But we're kind of doing stuff a little out of order because we don't have notes on this. So Gargano's promo, I'll let you handle that.
Well, Gargano pretty much just says, like, you say you absolved me of my sins. The only problem with that is I never sinned. Johnny Wrestling didn't do anything wrong. And if anything, like, he puts all the blame on Aleister because he says, you got in my way. My destiny was to become NXT champion. The world rejoices. Kids high-five each other, which I swear, if Johnny wasn't so sincere and so amazing at what he does, you'd have a new Bo Dallas, because that line seemed straight out of the Bo playbook. And he says that, you get in my way, and I'm not just going to finish the chapter. I'm closing the book on Aleister Black. So he seems determined to just beat Black in this steel cage. He does say that he'll do whatever it takes to beat Aleister Black. Like, there's nothing he won't do to win, which, I mean, that just shows you how far gone Johnny is. But yeah, very interesting promo. Really can't wait for next week. And yeah, he still thinks he's the good guy. So there you go.
Yeah, he sure does. And then later on in the night, Aleister Black basically cuts a promo saying, oh, Johnny, you're basically beyond absolution now, and I'm going to make you fade to black. That's pretty much the summation of it.
Absolutely. So
and then we get to our main event, which is North American Championship match, Ricochet versus a surprise opponent who ends up being a returning Tyler Breeze. Hey, look, everyone, it's Tyler. Tyler Breeze is back at NXT, y'all.
Yeah, like I said in live reactions, that line in that song has just never been more appropriate. Look, everyone, it's Tyler. Literally. So yeah, Tyler Breeze is back. I know Abel's in the chat. He must have been stoked to see Tyler Breeze come out and make an NXT return. I know you and I were quite happy with it. The ensuing matchup was freaking awesome, but let's unpack it a little bit. I'm going to have you do that first, Ashton. What were some of your favorite moments in this match?
Oh, man. Really, I think the Poisoned Rana was the one that popped me the most. And really, that's kind of the most thing that I remember because we were live reacting to it.
Yeah, Poisoned Rana was great. Breeze actually went for a beauty shot, which I know, like, we had to, like, recall what the finisher name was. I wish that was teased just a bit more. I did pop seeing the supermodel kick. That was great. They had a strike exchange at one point that was really good. Ricochet just moves on a completely different level. The guy is just surreal. And Breeze, he hasn't missed a beat. And the only reason I say that is because, I don't know if they've been using him on main event, because they sure as fuck haven't been using him on the main roster, which to me is criminal. One point that I did bring up in live reactions that I'd like to reiterate here, it really sucks when you're a competent singles guy and a solid hand, and you can't even apply that aspect of your craft, that part of your talent, because you're just so associated with a tag team that when your tag partner goes down with an injury or just has something going on, you might as well be going through that with them. And I mean, that's nothing against Fandango. Again, you said it best. Like, things like injuries and stuff, you really can't place the blame on anybody. It's just something that's going to happen in this line of work. I just don't understand, though, with as big as WWE is and with how much talent you're accumulating and you're gorging on with your, with your funds, why you can't just say, hey, Tyler, look, Fandango's going to be out for, let's just say 6+ months. Why don't you go down to NXT a little bit? We'll get you in some storylines. Ultimately, though, your role is going to be like, legitimizing the fresher talent that's coming in, but you'll stay visible to everybody. You'll get to put on great matches, and you'll be able to kind of build our next generation that's kind of coming in and acclimating themselves to the WWE style. Breeze still gets paid while actually being active. I don't think he's not getting paid, so it's not that bad. but I think he'd prefer getting paid actually, you know, freaking doing something. No, I think it's really sad what happens to talents like Breeze, you know, in these kinds of situations, because you see this match and he held his own with Ricochet. It looked fucking great. The crowd was so into him. You remarked multiple times in live reactions, and I'm glad you did, because you know I always do it with the player on mute. That, you know, the crowd chanted multiple times, Breeze is gorgeous. So this is clearly a crowd that remembers him, that respects him, and that, you know, kind of validated his presence there. He's not a nobody. And you're telling me you look at that and it's, you know, I'm just saying, where I'm from, 2 + 2 = 4. And it just seems like a very straightforward solution to an all too common problem. But regardless, Ricochet actually wins, not with the 630, but with the cradle shock, or the more technical term, the cross-legged Samoan driver. I actually liked it. You know, it was unexpected. And if Ricochet is going to use that as more of like like an impact finish that's like not off the top rope, I'd be for it. I don't know if that's confirmation of the case. You know, maybe he finds something else. But I think it's really cool as Ricochet continues to build his legacy as North American champion. I hope this open challenge. What?
No, your volume is just wildly inconsistent, because I can tell you're like getting closer to the mic and then you get loud and then you're like, over time you kind of back away. But no, you keep going, man.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I feel like I've been consistently close. I don't know, dude. Maybe this mic's time to be on the way out. I don't know. But regardless, Ricochet is clearly building his legacy as North American champion, and it's just really, really good to see. And, you know, I wouldn't mind these open challenges more. I mean, obviously, I'd prefer for Ricochet to be in, you know, cohesive programs, you know, narratives that go from A, B to C, rather than just sporadic open challenges. But if NXT's kind of struggling with how to book the North American title, nothing wrong with an open challenge every now and again. So what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I love this idea. I love, you know, Breeze being able to come down to NXT and do his thing. I just love everything about this. It's awesome. Yeah, man, I absolutely adore it. It's awesome. And you know what I think is really cool is that he hasn't skipped a beat. Like, he has been put through the absolute ringer on the main roster. He's been having nothing to do. He's been getting squashed randomly. He had the fucking fashion police thing, which was cool for a while, then got lame real quick. And like, he's just been so up and down, with like 80% of his main roster career being down. And now he comes to NXT and he gets this huge pop and just sustains it the entire match. It's so cool to see. And like, as far as not skipping a beat, he put on a great fucking match too. So that's like, yeah, I agree with you, man. I really think that in situations like this, he should be not just in NXT for like this one-off match. He should get like a full-blown NXT run, since he's not going to have anything to do for a little while.
Oh, dude, absolutely. I agree with everything you're saying 150%. I feel like when you have performances like this, it's so vindicating. Like, Breeze must have come through the curtain, I have to imagine, with a smile on his face. Like, yeah, you could put me on the shelf for months and the dust just kind of slides off of me instantly, because these people don't forget who I am. And I make sure that those who go back and watch this episode of NXT on the network, they're not going to forget me either after putting a match on like this, because a match like that only helps his brand, even in defeat. Because it's like, wow, this Breeze is really good. Like, honestly, dude, because I think it's been so long, dude. I think that the Fashion Police did get shaken up to Raw when Fandango's injury happened. I would love for Breeze to answer a Seth Rollins open challenge. Because, like,
that would be amazing.
I know that it's like usually a face heel dynamic more on the main roster, but I think they could put on such a good match. And Rollins, to me, I would like to assume that he's a very giving talent. You know, wouldn't mind making Breeze look really good. That you have a match like that, you get him right back in the thick of things. And then, hell, if you'd want to turn him heel later, because Fandango could come back. I even said this on live reactions. Fandango could come back and he could be like, hey, Breeze, you want to go after those tag titles? And he's just looking at himself in the mirror. Breeze, yes. I was admiring myself. What do you want? You know, it's Fandango. You wanna dish out fashion tickets? You want to do all that? No. Like, I'm popular now, thanks. And, you know, you could do a little mini feud there. You know, it's just so frustrating, because WWE is in that really almost fascinating predicament to me, where it's like you have all these hours of content, and yet I still feel like there's talent that is like underutilized. And it's just, I'm not saying that problem, you can never fully eradicate that problem, but with a guy like Breeze specifically, it's pretty inexcusable to me. So great effort by the gorgeous one. Ricochet retains. Do you have any other things you want to say about this, Ashton?
No, man, let's close it.
All right, guys, we're going to get into our final segment, high spots and low shots. But before that, I just want to go through the quick plugs here. Follow Ashton and myself on Twitter. Ashton's pinned tweet is the TWitWoW schedule for the remaining time of December. Obviously, the big videos that I'm thinking about, guys, December 30th, the year-end TWitWoW Awards, and before that, December 27th, TWitWoW Q&A, which leads me to my pinned tweet, which is collecting your Q&A questions. Non-Patreon donors are permitted up to 3 questions per Q&A, and those that donate to the Patreon are afforded up to 5 questions per Q&A. The model worked really well last time, and I'm assuming it'll work well again here. You can submit your questions via YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Discord. Again, the easiest way on my end of things, just reply to my pinned tweet. I see all of your questions. I know some people prefer to DM me. That's fine as well. Get your questions in before December 27th. And yeah, you can just ask whatever questions you want and divide them up however you like. Be sure to check out our Teespring store, especially with Christmas. Less than 2 weeks away, 13 days away till Christmas. That is unbelievable. It is flying by, guys. So if you're thinking, oh, God, what do I get for this person that loves wrestling? Well, we got the fix for you. Because at our Teespring store, we not only have TWitWoW specific merch if you want to support the brand. I'm a TWitWoW guy, I'm a TWitWoW girl, and a t-shirt with the opening TWitWoW intro on it. There is also wrestler-specific merch. We have Kevin Owens shirts, Braun Strowman shirts, Becky Lynch, LIJ, and or Andrade, because it's a Tranquilo shirt, so you can represent multiple amazing fucking people at once. Just all sorts of offerings on the Teespring. Be sure to check it out and see what you like. The perfect stocking stuffer this holiday season. And finally, of course, the Patreon. Guys, you know what I say? We always have a goal amount. And currently with the Patreon, we did well enough this month that we got to our $120 goal. And so we're live reacting to 3 hours of wrestling content every week. The NXT live reaction we just got done doing was the final hour for that week. We're also still doing SmackDown live reactions for this month. But now we have a new goal of 130. And I'm reading here, if we hit 130, Progress and Monday Night Raw live reactions become an option for our patrons if they would prefer them for the month. So pretty much, guys, the way the new Patreon structure is going is the more that you donate and the more we hit on the Patreon, the wider the goals become. The more robust the offerings, if you will. So yeah, guys, if you want to broaden your options, if you're like, ooh, I want to put Progress on the table because I loved when they were doing Progress live reactions, the best way you can do that is to donate $3 to the TWitWoW Patreon and gain membership to the TWitWoW Discord, what I call the ultimate fan server experience. There you will congregate with the most passionate TWitWoW fans, including Ashton and myself on the Discord. We discuss Raw together. I know I was pretty active on Monday, talking about, Seth Rollins versus Baron and kind of how Raw opened and everything else. Raw was all right. And, we can always kind of decompress SmackDown and all that stuff. And beyond wrestling, you could talk about pretty much everything else on the Discord. Game of Thrones Season 8, the final season, coming this April. I know we got a Game of Thrones tab on the channel. Pretty much if you can talk about it, we're here for it. That's pretty much how our Discord works. And if you're thinking, well, a fan server is nice and all, I belong to some Discord communities, but what else can you really sell me on? What really makes you guys different? Well, with your $3 donation, really with any donation you make to Team TWitWoW, it pretty much establishes you with what I like to call a TWitWoW account, and that money accrues. So I always use the very straightforward example. You start out with a $3 donation, you gain Discord access. Say you keep renewing that Discord access $3 a month for 10 months. Your TWitWoW account now has $30 in it, and you can exhaust that account all at once. Use all 30 of your dollars for a live reaction to a 3-hour show. So you pretty much get content control the more money you accrue in your TWitWoW account by supporting Team TWitWoW, either direct donation or Discord membership or what have you. So I call it a win-win-win-win. So please do consider donating to the TWitWoW Patreon. We would greatly appreciate it. You'll get a lot of bang for your buck. So with that said, let us move on to our final segment, high spots and low shots. So my low shot, I'm going to waste my low shot because I actually like a lot of people on this show, but I'm just going to pick Reina Gonzalez. It's a waste because she's not a regular by any means. We probably won't see her again for a good while, if ever. But it fits because she had an opportunity to compete in a fatal 4-way to determine the #1 contender for the NXT Women's Championship and she fucking failed like the waste of space that she is and lost to Mia Yim. So Reina Gonzalez will be my low shot.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. She had a pretty piss poor showing.
Abso-fucking-lutely. I hope she never comes back.
You know what though? I unfortunately I've got to give my low shot to the Mighty, because even though they put on a great performance, they still had a really rough result, because taking an L to Lorcan and Birch, who are really kind of on the fringes of NXT title contention and not really fully in it yet. It's just not a good look.
I mean, you're not wrong, but I wish the truth didn't hurt so much. It really sucks, but you are correct. They did not have a good night tonight. I can't fault you for that, even though I am a huge fan of the Mighty, and it just really hurts to hear. You know what? My high spot, I know there are people I'd love to give it to, but I got to be fair with this. I think my high spot is going to be Mia Yim, because she qualified for an opportunity to become the #1 contender for the NXT Women's Championship. And I think she has a viable shot of winning it too. I mean, we know that Mia Yim and Shayna Baszler, but especially like on social media, they are close friends. They do hang out. Maybe you can interweave that in the story where Mia's like, you know, Shayna, I don't know why you're acting like this when you're so talented. Just kind of laugh Mia off. I think it would be a great matchup, and you could actually, again, add some substance to the narrative with the aforementioned relationship. So I wouldn't count Mia out of the fight, and in fact, she might even be a favorite. So she's definitely going to be my high spot tonight.
Yeah, that's definitely a good pick. And if you wouldn't have taken her, I probably would have. She seems like the sort of the go-to easy pick for tonight. I guess I'll have to go a little bit more unconventional and pick someone who lost their match, that being Tyler Breeze, because even though he did lose, he, had a hero's welcome. Everyone loved him. He had a great match, and his first really great match, I would even argue, since the last time he was in NXT. And he, he gave the North American champ, which, I mean, really immediately your first match back in NXT is a title match. That's a big deal too. And he gave the North American champ a run for his money. So there's enough positive to outweigh the L.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I completely understand that. That's totally agreeable to me. With that said, guys, this has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans by wrestling fans on the web today. I'm John. That's my co-host and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment on this video when it's done processing. What did you think about Tyler Breeze's return to NXT? Do you wish he would work more matches down at Full Sail? What do you think is next for Ricochet? Who do you think his next big challenger is going to be? Maybe Dijakovic, who's debuting next week. Maybe Keith Lee. Who knows? I want to hear your predictions down in the comments below. What do you think about Undisputed Era losing to EC3? I mean, first Adam Cole and then Robert Pisces. It's not looking good for Undisputed Era, and now Heavy Machinery kind of asserting themselves, winning a tag title shot. Do you think this could be signaling that maybe Undisputed Era will be called up soon? They're kind of losing a lot. Maybe they're just wrapping up some business. Or do you think 2019 in NXT is going to belong to Undisputed Era? Curious what you guys think in the comments there. Talk to us, talk to us, talk to us. Be sure to like the video as you're filing out. The more likes you leave, the more likely we are to be the top search result for NXT reviews on YouTube. And when you're the best at what you do, the top is the only place that you belong. So please leave that like. Subscribe to your new favorite wrestling podcast if you haven't, and click the bell icon for notifications so you never again miss any of that TWitWoW goodness. And guys, we will see you again on Friday. Got no recordings tomorrow, so you can all get your bodies ready, because on Friday it is our WWE TLC preview and predictions, running down the whole TLC card from the Rey Mysterio and Randy Orton chairs match to the Ruby Riott and Natalya tables match to Corbin versus presumably Braun Strowman in a TLC match. We'll see how that goes. I'm a bit skeptical, but that could be a worthwhile discussion, how we think they're going to handle that, and just so much more. Just the entire TLC card. I'm actually really looking forward to this. Always like to poke around in Ashton's head and see what he's thinking about the card, and I'll want you guys there as well, because I may have a few predictions that might surprise you. So that's going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern time on Friday is our next big TWitWoW recording. And then after that, we actually have 3 straight days of TWitWoW recordings, because we have the TLC preview and predictions at 9 on Friday. Then at 4 p.m. on Saturday, we have a Patreon request live reactions from Sal. Love you, President Sal, but you really dicked us over on this one because it's the Heroes of Wrestling show, which is noted, has a reputation for being the worst wrestling show of all time. So this is either going to be really legendary live reactions, or I don't even want to think about the alternative. It's going to be something, folks. It's going to be something, and you're going to want to be there for it. Trust me. And then Sunday, right, Ashton? Because did we finalize that Sunday is going to be a doubleheader? Because I know
we are going to be going
live
at 3 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday to live react and review Women's Wrestling Revolution's Brick Shithouse show. And yeah, so that's going to be a live reaction and then a review. It should only be like an hour 50, I think, the show. So that'll take us to a little before 5. We'll go live at 5 with the review, probably be done by 6. And then the pre-show for TLC is going to start, and we'll be able to get into that.
Absolutely. So, guys, it's going to be a stacked day on Sunday between Jackie's Patreon request and TLC live reactions. So, but it all begins again on Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern time. So we will see you then, guys. And until then, tune in and peace out.